Okay, sit back, relax, because your choice of whether Chloe survived or died in Arcadia Bay has a significant impact on the game Life is Strange Reunion.
But I think you'll want all the time we have for this.
With over 160 consequences for this choice alone, this single choice has the vast majority of all consequences in the game, including ones you definitely wouldn't have thought were related.
That's some teaser.
So let's take a look at one choice at a time with all the consequences in the order that they appear in each scene, starting with if you chose Chloe survived.
Let's get to work.
When you have control of Chloe, Backstage Pass, at some point you can check out her journal, and if Chloe survived, it'll go like this. But that wasn't the only thing. I had this pressing feeling the whole time, like everything in my life had changed. It centered around Arcadia Bay and the storm. Somehow, it was much worse than reality. And then in the same scene, when you're at the, mysterious place, you get a mysterious text from an unknown number.
Okay. What the hell?
First, notice that the first time Chloe responds, it's from Alive Chloe. What is this? How do I unsubscribe? What the hell? Why is my name Alive Chloe? And down below, it says it's from Dead Chloe. Where am I? Next here, if you look in the mirror, if Chloe survived, she'll think this.
Wrong. You got hella cash.
Is that me in high school? I never talked like that, did I?
And now at the very top of the overlook, before you kind of get into the cutscene, you can look at the gravestone. What Chloe thinks to herself is different. If Chloe survived, it'll go like this.
Does every daughter have nightmares that she killed her mom, even though she's still very much alive? Or is that just me?
As that cutscene starts, Chloe comes around the corner and sees the dead body. Because you chose survived, when she sees it, it'll go like this.
A version of me. If Max didn't rewind to save me. She's not me. But she's a part of me. The question is, how much?
Skipping to the next scene, when you're with Max now, when you finally get a chance to look in her journal. If you chose that Chloe survived, page 2, Max will have written, Chloe texted me after the storm. I wanted to write her back so many times, but I just couldn't find the words. I still can't. I think this journal is my attempt to find them. Maybe when I do, I'll be able to write her back, and who knows? Who knows, Max? And then you can actually look at the text that she's referencing, and it will be from Chloe, and Max will think this.
I never responded to this. I should. Once I somehow figure out what to say.
Okay, skipping ahead to scene 6, Time Dojo. You can go over to this solar system framed art and look at it. And if Chloe survived, Max will think this.
When we were on the road, Chloe loved pointing out Venus and Mars to me in the night sky.
Okay, this next one in the same scene has eluded me.
Please hand me the object behind that locked door.
You get to the point in the test where you've already used a screwdriver on the cabinet and the mug falls out and you rewind it. Before you officially give him the mug, you can look at him. If Chloe survived, Max will think this.
I bet Chloe and Moses would have loved each other as only two nerds could. I wish they would have met.
It doesn't make sense to me why this would be related to Chloe dying or surviving, but I've done many, many tests to prove it, and it is the only thing that is consistent across all the tests.
Seriously?
Now, as you go upstairs and you're talking to Moses and you're having more of a heart-to-heart, you can talk about leads.
What leads do we have?
Max is feeling kind of worried about her powers.
The only thing we know for sure is that my powers are going to complicate things.
And Chloe comes up.
Chloe, in the school bathroom.
And because Chloe survived, Max will say this.
Trying to save Chloe and the place I love is how I destroyed the last place I loved.
Arcadia Bay, right? It looked beautiful. At least from the photos you showed me.
It was beautiful. When it was still on the map. How do I know Lakeport won't be next?
Okay, moving to the class act scene. At the very end of the scene, you can go over and check the cameras. That will allow Max to kind of sit down.
I wonder what Chloe would make of Professor Caulfield.
And when she does, if Chloe survives, she'll think this.
It's almost the anniversary of the storm that destroyed Arcadia Bay. I used to dread being with Chloe at this time of year. Now I dread being without her.
Now, moving forward to being with Chloe again at the bar break-in scene. Toward the end of the scene, just as you're about to actually break into the bar,
Max's blue-haired girl.
if she survived, it'll go like this.
Are we in that horrible place again?
Sticking with Chloe, but 2 scenes later, when you're finally in the snapping turtle, if you chose that Chloe survived, part of what she's going to be thinking goes like this.
I've been having recurring nightmares of you killing me. And I think I'm going insane.
And then you can start to look at that beer bottle. Now, the first thing that you could choose here is Muse, and there isn't any differences related to dying and surviving there. It's related to your romance choice, so check out that video. But if you look at it again and ponder, this one does have differences if you died or survived. So if you survived and you were friends, it'll go like this.
Hey, Max, remember when I ditched you and we haven't talked since? No? Me neither.
But if you survived and you had a romance, it'll go like this.
Hey, Max, remember that shitty breakup letter I wrote you years back before we stopped talking? No, me neither.
All right, in the next scene, when it's the first time that Max and Chloe see each other after 10 years, they come together and different songs play depending on if Chloe had died or survived. If she survived, Piano Fire by Sparkle Horse will play. Now, I can't play it because it's licensed, unfortunately. Now, in this actual scene, when they're seeing each other for the first time, Max will eventually say this if Chloe survived.
How are you here?
Lots to discuss.
Okay, we got a lot of differences for this next scene, reunion. So this is pretty hefty right here. Starting with Max's recounting of how the night before went.
Blast from the past and all.
If Chloe survived, she'll think this.
That was one way to put it. I felt blasted into a million pieces last night.
And then while she's at the top of the stairs,
Come on, the bedroom's upstairs.
thinking about Chloe while she's sleeping, she's gonna think this.
The 10,000 times I played this moment out in my head, I could never figure out what to say to her.
And then soon after, she'll also think this.
Right when everything is falling into chaos, she walks in. Like she heard her cue.
Okay, when you finally get control of Max, you can look at her journal. And on the first part of page 9, if she survived and you were friends, it's gonna say, Chloe, my best friend, as long as I can remember, up until the second she walked out the door. If you romanced her, whether she died or survived, it's gonna say the same thing. So we're not even gonna mention it here. But on the second half of page 9, regardless of the romance, if Chloe survived, Max will have written, the last time I saw her, I was sitting on the motel bed, sobbing into threadbare tissues. She was promising me that it would all be okay someday. This can't have been what she meant. Then flip on over to page 10, and on the first half of that, the last paragraph will be different. I guess I always thought that we'd meet again someday, but I figured it would be years from now and that it would be more of a mutual plan. And notice there's no image here, there's no drawing. Now, I don't know if that's intentional or not. It seems kind of odd, but just notice that. Now, if you go upstairs and watch Chloe sleep, you're going to get a little moment of calm situation. And part of that is going to show you the image of the two of you on the photo wall board. Okay, so then go downstairs with Max, look around a bit, notice your birthday note here. Now, when you're looking at it, if Chloe survived, Max will think this.
It's my birthday. Again. But I doubt that's why Chloe dropped by.
And then continue on and look at the muffin. If Chloe survived, Max will think this.
At least I have something to offer my surprise guest.
When you get to the point where you're looking in Chloe's bag, if you look at the band shirts and she survived, Max will think this.
Now Chloe's the one trying to keep kids from stealing the merch.
And then look at the map. Now, if Chloe survived, remember, Max has been on the road with her, so she has more of an experience. So when she looks at the map, she'll think this.
Chloe left a tour to drive out here? What the hell for?
And very similarly, if you look at the sketchbook, Max is going to remember drugstore makeup if Chloe survived and they kind of went around the world together, right?
I remember this band. Chloe used to work their merch table. Now she's the manager.
Okay, finally you have control of Chloe again and you can look at her journal now. On page 5, the first half, if Chloe survived, she will have written, after years of waiting, hundreds of miles, thousands of times playing every scenario out in my head, it happened. I met up with Max. And then continuing to page 6, the second half of this page, she'll say, it was wonderful, but also a little sad. In the truck, after we got back, before I crashed out, I was thinking, Max has a whole life now without me. Who are we to each other now? Can we still fit together? And it's optional, but you could choose to look at the photo of Chloe and Max. If you do, Chloe will think this.
The early days, when we thought the adventure would go on forever.
Okay, we're getting to the dialogue heavy parts now. When they're finally able to really talk after Chloe gets some sleep, the first thing that you can choose, if Chloe survived, you have the option to say, why are you here?
Chloe, why are you here?
Yeah. Got some explaining to do.
Good to see you is always there, so we won't talk about that. And then as you continue, you talk about Safi. You'll always have a former friend as an option. But if Chloe survived, you'll also have you came here for this as an option.
Sorry, you drove across the country to ask me questions?
Yes. Now can we focus, please?
Sophie and I were friends once.
And as the Safi conversation continues, eventually you're going to kind of shift kind of locations, move more into the living room space.
What else do you see in your visions besides her?
There's going to be a whole section of dialogue that doesn't exist if she died. And that will start out like this.
I see a storm destroying Arcadia Bay. And my mom's grave. I know the town is fine and my mom's alive, but it feels so...
What do you mean? Chloe, the town was destroyed. Over a decade ago.
So you must be the real crazy one then, because I just drove through Arcadia Bay a month ago. Had lunch with my mom at the Two Whales.
I don't know what's happening, but there definitely was a storm. And I'm so sorry, but your mom didn't make it.
Okay, it's pretty messed up for you to make me prove something like this, but voila. A selfie from my mom's gram. Stardate, 1 month ago.
Joyce is alive? In the town?
It's right where we left it. So, those horrible visions, those are what? Your memories?
Yes, of what actually happened. Or at least, what happened to me. Or you with me, or what I thought you... Oh, shit. How do we have two separate realities? And how is Arcadia Bay back?
And then you'll have two choices. You can either say, you tell me.
I spent 3,000 miles of tire because I thought you might have those answers.
I don't yet. Right now, I just can't believe how incredible this is.
Or nothing good.
I don't know, Max. Reality isn't supposed to work like this. It can't be good.
I've been mourning our home for so long, and now it's back. If it's real, then something incredible has happened.
And then there's some dialogue that happens whether she survived or died, but then we go back to a survived only dialogue.
You're talking like you want me to stick around.
I do. Of course I do.
And then you could choose for Chloe to say either, I wasn't sure.
I wasn't sure where we were. Your non-response to my text felt kind of loud.
It wasn't meant to be. I just had no clue what to say. I still don't, to be honest.
Or I'm relieved.
I guess that's a relief. We haven't talked in a while, so I didn't know how you'd respond to the human wrecking ball showing up at your door.
Honestly, I've been building this moment up in my head for so long. I wasn't sure how I'd respond either.
They'll start talking about their relationship.
I feel like everything between us just got so...
Deeply and thoroughly fucked?
I was going to say... complicated.
And then you could choose between the argument.
Seemed like we argued for a solid month over the stupidest stuff. At the time, it felt like life and death. Now I barely remember most of it.
I do. But that's my curse. A steel trap for traumatic bullshit.
Or the emotion.
I didn't know I could love someone so much and be so angry. And then when you left, I felt like I was in shock. I didn't know how to move on.
Me too. I just knew I had to.
And then this continues here.
I can describe the motel room in detail. I can recite your letter word for word.
If you were friends with Chloe,
But I still don't understand how it all went to shit.
and if you romance Chloe, it'll go like this.
For the life of me, I couldn't tell you why. Why did we actually break up?
Then you have 4 different options of what you can say. And this doesn't matter if you romance or friends with Chloe either. So let's just start with too much trauma.
I know my reality might not be fully real. But even in what I remember, there was so much baggage. The storm, Jefferson, Rachel.
I could never get past the idea that you blamed me for the storm.
I never.
I know, I do. I think part of me wanted you to. Like, my guilt didn't think I deserved to be happy.
And then you can choose growing apart.
It wasn't one thing. I was getting into the music scene. You were catching on as an artist. Late night mosh pits. Early morning photo shoots. Cheap whiskey. Wine and cheese. It just started to break.
I always felt like I was letting you down. You finally found something you loved, and I couldn't keep up.
And then choosing your powers.
I know you weren't rewinding when we were together, but it still felt like your powers hung over everything. Like an 800-pound time-bending gorilla.
I hated my powers back then. They made me feel inhuman. It took me years to figure out that they were still a part of me, even when I ignored them.
And this dialogue here always ends if you choose doesn't matter. So I like to hear them all, and I save that for last.
At this point, does any of it matter? Are we even the same people we were then?
I don't know. I think that's what always terrified me. What if the us who made that promise to each other isn't us anymore? Is the promise still real?
Still in this scene. But after Noelle comes to the door and you have that little conversation, you're going to end up coming back to the couch area. If Chloe survives, she's going to be like, okay, Professor Caulfield.
Professor Caulfield. Has a ring to it.
As our new president likes to remind me, I'm really just Instructor Caulfield.
Do you like teaching?
And you can answer, I love it.
It's amazing. My students are so curious and so smart. I haven't had the best experiences with education, but
you can make sure that they do. That's cool.
Or it's tough sometimes.
my students are awesome. But it's a lot of grading and a lot of stress.
I can relate. Last week, I had to beat back a meth head from the stage with a mic stand.
Okay, there is so much in that scene, but we are finally done. We're moving on forward to the admin sleuth scene.
Hard to think about anything besides Chloe at the moment.
If Chloe survived, as you walk into the building, Max is kind of having an opening cutscene monologue here, right? She'll say this.
But if I want to save her and everyone else, I need to start finding answers now.
And once you have control of Max again, you'll see there's more text messages from Chloe. The stairs to the observatory are very lengthy, and she makes some jokes. Though, to be fair, I'm not sure the staircase has an end to it. Jesus fucking Christ, I need to quit smoking. Max says, that sounds great. Maybe right after we solve your existential crisis. Next scene, Kat and Max. Now, this is kind of optional. You will only get this if you travel into this quadrant right here. But if you do, you'll get a phone call from Chloe and you'll sit down and you'll talk. At some point in the conversation, if Chloe survived, this will be said.
We didn't part ways on the best terms, and you never responded to my text.
I wanted to. I worried that if I sent you one text, I might send you 1,000. I mean, we talked all morning, and there's still so much more to say.
Well, it's a start.
Okay, next scene, the Overlight. Finally, Chloe and Moses get to meet. And as that scene begins, you're going to hear them talking to each other. If Chloe survived, that opening conversation will go like this.
It started in December, but lately it's been getting worse. So I came to Max for help. And she told me, well, it's really more about what I told her, that Arcadia Bay is still standing. And my mom, and everyone else, is alive. But then she told me that until very recently, this wasn't the case. But if I'm here, and Arcadia Bay is also here, I don't know.
Later in the scene, as Moses is like, hey, this is sort of a paradox and wants to kind of investigate more, they're talking a lot.
A storm threatened your town, and Max was forced to make a choice.
And if she survived, there'll be a little bit of a change in this conversation right here. It'll go like this.
She saved you, and Arcadia Bay was destroyed.
But the town is okay. My mom texted me an hour ago.
And then this conversation, of course, triggers the paradox. Chloe is back there in the strange place at the Overlook, and you can look at another text. This time, the actual texts aren't different, but just pointing out again, your very first message from Chloe, if she survived, is from alive Chloe. And then the others are dead Chloe. Still in the Overlook, go to the top and look at the bathroom floor. It's sometimes easy to miss, I find.
Does that place hold any special meaning?
If Chloe survived, it's going to be a different experience, right? You'll say this.
Sure. It's where Max ripped apart space-time to save me.
Okay, after the paradox event, Chloe's back, her and Moses are talking more, and there's a lot of different conversation. If Chloe survived, you're actually going to have one that exists that does not exist if Chloe died. And that's, but Max saved me.
But Max chose to save me. Why do I keep dying?
You're returning to the moment of Max's choice. If the choice had been up to you, save yourself or save the town, what would you do?
I'd save the town. I'd sacrifice myself. That's what I told Max to do then. At the time, it felt like what I had to do.
And the Overlight seems to reflect that.
And then Moses is concerned about going into this, paradoxical event situation if Chloe spends more time there. If Chloe survived, he's going to say this.
If you spend more time there, you could end up in the other timeline. The one where you died.
Okay, now we're in the Times and Turtle scene, and it's finally time for Max and Safi to meet up.
That's it.
And as Safi is trying to, I guess, remind Max of what happened, maybe what she blocked out,
And then what? Think.
you're back in the hotel room kind of remembering things. If Chloe survived, Max will say this.
All these motel rooms. Like the ones Chloe and I stayed in.
Continuing on with this memory, there's a bunch of different shots that are different if Chloe survived or died. So if she survived, you're going to start here where there's a pan on Safi's body. It's going to pan up, and you're going to see Chloe standing here.
Chloe. She was surrounded by all the suffering and trauma from the storm. I thought, if I could remove it, maybe she'd be okay. Maybe she and I could start over.
And then as you see Max's hand reach out, again, you're going to see that shot of Chloe standing up. Coming back to reality with Safi, as you're talking, you have different options that come up. And in this conversation, she's going to get really frustrated eventually.
How many times do you need the universe to tell you it's not interested?
Because Chloe survived, she'll say this.
Your powers destroyed a whole town. You really thought the same powers would bring it back without any issues?
Okay, same scene, but now you're with Chloe and you have access to her journal. Right at the top, she's going to say, "They're just dreams," I repeated like a mantra these past months. Okay, next scene, Champlain problems. You're in that canoe with Chloe.
I thought my life was starting to make sense, but I was wrong.
If Chloe survived, you're going to hear this.
I was focused on myself and my career and everything else. But there was a part of me, maybe the most important part, that was still lost.
And then after you either kissed or held hands or whatever you did together, multiple times maybe, you're going to start talking about different things that you did together.
Just add it to the list of conveyances I've dragged your ass into over the years.
If Chloe survived, it will just continue on.
Let's hear the list.
Well, there was my truck, of course. That shopping cart in San Francisco. Then there was that Vespa we had in Salt Lake City.
But specific to survive, Max will say,
I thought I was gonna go flying off the back so many times.
and then the conversation will continue.
We had that tandem bicycle in Chicago. That was a disaster. And Izzy's friend's weed dealer's tuk-tuk we joyrode in Nashville.
And then again, if Chloe survived, Max, of course, remembers this experience and will say this.
Honestly, how are we still alive?
You mean, how are we so awesome?
Okay, scene 20, the Mabon scene. But first, we have a journal entry unrelated to Mabon. This middle paragraph of page 13 in the first section, I brought Arcadia Bay back to life. I smashed two realities together. It must be the cause of Chloe's weird visions and God knows what else. Oh, but then when you're downstairs, Max and Chloe are together talking, and Max is in a drug-induced state, but being so truthful. Part of that scene, if Chloe survived, goes like this.
We have a few incredible days together, and then we lose everything. And eventually, I lose you too. I don't know if I can do it again.
And then later, Chloe can reply, and there's differences if Chloe survived based on if you were friends or romance then. If you were friends with Chloe and she survived, she'll say this.
We pulled so far away from each other, we let an entire dead town get between us.
If she survived and you romanced her, the first part will be the same, but there'll be more to it.
We pulled so far away from each other, we let an entire dead town get between us. I should have told you every day that we were gonna make it. But I didn't. And then we didn't.
Okay, next scene in the Majestic Tapestry, you'll have a journal entry pop up that you can look at. And on page 17, right at the bottom paragraph, I saw her die in the fire. She came all this way looking for my help, and I don't even know if I can keep her safe. And then in the next scene, all available evidence, you can optionally talk to Moses at some point when he's just kind of standing over here, and you have two dialogue options that you can pick. And they both have different versions for survived and died. So if you pick I have faith and Chloe survived, it will go like this.
I know my powers are imperfect, but I don't think they would undo the choice I made to save Chloe all those years ago.
And if you picked me too and Chloe survived, it'll go like this.
I am too. It all seems so normal, her being here. But what's going on between her and Safi, whatever I did to them, is far from normal.
Now, towards the end of the scene, when Chloe has this epiphany,
There's one giant variable that wasn't in your equation last time. Me.
if you choose to hold back and not tell Chloe that she was actually at the fire and died, then whichever follow-up option you pick, Chloe will eventually say this if she survived.
Honestly, I never expected to live this long anyway.
Okay, next scene, worth the wait. Chloe's speech of what she wants to say to Max is different. There are 4 differences depending on if you told her about your death, held back, and then if she died or survived within those.
You first.
So if Chloe survived and you told her about her death, it'll go like this.
In the time we've known each other, we've had, I don't know, 1,000 arguments. I used to replay them in my head on repeat. But now, I just hope we get to have 1,000 more. Because I'd take that forever, rather than lose you again.
But if Chloe survived and you did not tell her, you held back, it'll go like this.
This weekend has been... I've never had so many emotions at once. Excited, scared, utterly mind-fucked. But underneath it all, I've only really felt one thing. I am so incredibly happy to be here with you, Max. Whatever comes next.
That one's a lot. 2 scenes from now, here is Max's decision. There's going to be a small one. When you're talking to Safi and she's all hyped up,
Let's leave.
she's wanting you to go with her. If Chloe survived, that means the town was gone.
We can find your town.
So what is she talking about? So there's an added dialogue piece that Safi says.
The one that magically reappeared from the dust of the earth.
Okay, now in the keeping watch scene, when Chloe and Moses are on the roof, there's going to be Maya's book that you can look at. If Chloe survived, when she looks at the book, she'll think this.
As a kid, I was so desperate to leave Arcadia Bay. But then I left it in ruins. Or maybe it left me in ruins.
Okay, the lighthouse scene. You're going to get a text that you can look at from Safi. And of course, if Chloe survived, you're going to see the alive Chloe version that's different. But there's also a part of the text that's different too. Dead Safi will say, I would have thought that was clear. I'm dead. I've been dead this whole time. I wouldn't expect you to understand, but come on, it's right there in my name. Now, in the lighthouse scene, you're going to get this choice where you can give these options here. If you choose, I know the feeling, and Chloe survived, it'll go like this.
You think I don't get it? My head is a mess. Half of my memories are horrible, and the other half didn't happen. Sometimes I think I'll never be okay again.
Then continuing, if you get to the point where you have these options, and you pick, fine, let's be bastards.
Who cares what reality wants? What has reality ever done for us?
If Chloe survived, it'll go like this.
What about me? Should I go back to being dead? Am I a mistake? No. Screw that. We're alive, and reality can go fuck itself.
And then during Trust Fall, as Chloe is falling off of the building, she's going to have a memory, if you will. And because she survived, it will be this.
My powers might not last, Chloe. That's okay. We will.
But let's be happy now because everything's fine, right? We're in the memorial scene. There'll be a text from Max's parents. So if Chloe survived, Max will say there's a lot that's happened over the past 3 days, and then say, it's gonna take me a long time to work through it. Okay, just remember that. Then you're also gonna get a journal entry for Max. In the last page of her journal, she will have written, back on the road with Chloe, last time I let my guilt from the storm tear me apart. Maybe I can learn to handle the guilt from the fire. Maybe for Chloe, I can live without looking back. And then next scene, partners in time. If you chose to burn the photo, if Chloe survived, she'll say this.
We could head back east and check on your friends. Or we can go west. It might be time for us to see what happened to Arcadia Bay. Together.
And the most bizarre consequence that I'm disappointed about, but in all of my tests, I have done so many tests, and every single one, they're all tracked, they're all verified, they're all recorded. The only difference was died or survived. I'm like nervous to say it, and I'm stalling. I feel like I'm gonna disappoint so many people when they hear this because it doesn't make sense.
That's reality.
If you pick survived, your end screen with Moses will be Moses feels acquainted with Chloe. Why?
I have no idea.
Okay, so now let's go all the way back to the very beginning of the game. But this time, if you chose that Chloe died.
Fuck.
When you first have control of Chloe and you look at her journal, now, if Chloe died, it'll start the same but end a bit different. But that wasn't the only thing. I had this pressing feeling the whole time like I wasn't supposed to be there, like I was a ghost. or a memory of something that didn't exist. I don't know, it's weird. I guess that's why I'm talking to you again. Then when you get that mysterious text,
What the hell?
the first time that Chloe responds, it's now from dead Chloe. What is this? How do I unsubscribe? What the hell? Why is my name Dead Chloe? Down below, alive Chloe says, where am I? Next, come over to the mirror and look inside, and if she died this time, she'll say this.
You got hella cash.
Haven't talked this way in years. But why does this feel like it was only yesterday?
And now again, you're back at the top of the overlook here before that cutscene. You'll see that gravestone. If you look at it this time, because Chloe died, she'll think this.
I know I'm alive. I've got a decade of memories to prove it. But somewhere, deep in a place I try never to go, I also know I'm dead.
And now as Chloe rounds the corner and sees the dead body, because you chose died, it'll now go like this.
My own death. The one I begged Max to choose. It feels realer than my life. But how?
And now you get control of Max in the Mountain State of Mind scene. And if Chloe died, her journal entry on page 2 will be this. I've been thinking about Chloe a lot. I mean, I always did, but ever since the storm, it's been sort of a constant presence. It's not a bad thing, actually. It feels like I'm more connected to her than any point since she died, but it's intense. And then, of course, you can look at the text that she's referencing, and this time it's going to be an unknown number because she died. Max doesn't have Chloe's number in her phone. And Max will think this.
I never figured out who this was. But it's nice that somebody cared.
Okay, now in the Time Dojo scene, remember, go over to this solar system art piece and look at it. And if she died, Max will think this instead.
Chloe made a model of the solar system for the Blackwell Science Fair. I wonder if Joyce still has it.
And now we're here again.
Please hand me the object behind that locked door.
You haven't given Moses the mug yet, but you're about to. If you look at Moses here and Chloe died, he's going to say this instead.
Moses and I don't have many common interests, but Chloe and I didn't either. With the right person, it doesn't matter.
And like I said before, I just don't see how these are related to Chloe surviving or dying, but this is what you got.
There was nothing I could do.
Now we're again talking to Moses. You bring up leads and Chloe comes up.
Chloe, in the school bathroom.
And because Chloe died, this time Max will say this.
Yeah. I tried so hard to save her. And the one thing I learned is that you can't save everyone.
I'm sorry about Chloe.
And now we could lose a Loretta, or a Reggie, or a you.
Next in the class act scene, as you're basically done and you're checking the cameras, that will allow Max to think a little bit.
I wonder what Chloe would make of Professor Caulfield.
And because Chloe died, this time she's gonna think this.
It's almost the anniversary of when she died. Every year, I feel her presence grow stronger. But this year, it almost feels real.
Okay, going to that bar break-in scene when we have control of Chloe, you head over, you're about to get in, finally to the snapping turtle, and then Safi interrupts.
Max's blue-haired girl.
She knows Chloe died, and so her response is gonna be like this.
I've met you before. In that horrible place. But you can't be real.
And now as Chloe's in the bar, you're getting that kind of opening cutscene, looking at Lucas, looking at Amanda. This time, because she died, it's going to be a little bit different with how she thinks.
I've been having recurring nightmares of you killing me. And they're starting to seem more and more like actual memories of my life. Or death, I guess.
All right, when you get control, look at that beer bottle. Now, first you got to pick Muse again, not related to this difference, but then you have the option to ponder.
Hey, Max. Every time you kill me in one of my dream thingies, it feels more real than the last. Paging Dr. Freud, am I right?
And next, if Chloe died, that moment where you see each other for the first time, if she died, Spanish Sahara by Foes will play instead of Piano Fire. Once again, I can't play it because of the license. Now, sticking with this part, if Chloe died, Max will eventually say this.
This is impossible.
Lots to discuss.
Okay, now we got the real hefty scene. Here we go. If she died, as Max is recounting how the night went before, she's going to think this now instead.
Blast from the past and all.
She said it so naturally. Like she had no idea how insane it sounded. Like she'd never died.
And then as she's at the top of the stairs,
Come on, the bedroom's upstairs.
watching Chloe sleep, she'll think this.
I spent all night thinking of explanations. It was a dream, a hallucination. It was Sophie playing the world's sickest prank. But it's her, in 1,000 little ways. In every way.
And then soon after, this.
She didn't vanish overnight. I can let her out of my sight for a minute or two.
Now, as you get control of Max again, and you can look at her journal, page 9, that first half, if she died, remember, romance is the same either way. That last line is now going to be different. It now says, up until the second gun fired. And on the second half of page 9, if she died, it'll say the first stage of grief is denial. The first stage of whatever this is also denial. This can't be happening, but I keep looking over to the bed and then go over to page 10. Now, there is actually a drawing here, and it is a very heartbreaking drawing of Chloe's funeral. Now, again, I don't know if there's supposed to be one for if she survived, but this one is very prominent. And that last paragraph says, she's dead. She's been dead. I heard her get shot. I stood by her casket. I spent years mourning her. I know she's dead. So why is she snoring right now? Now, of course, if you go watch her snoring upstairs, you take a look and kind of watch, you'll get that montage around the room and you'll see that photo wall photo. And this time it will be the solo pic. All right, you go downstairs and look at that birthday card. And this time, because Chloe died, Max will think this.
It's my birthday. Again. Has Chloe's return some kind of birthday wish come true? No, that's crazy.
Okay, then continue on to the other side of the counter and look at the muffin. Because Chloe died, Max will now think this.
Hey, Chloe. Welcome back from the great beyond. Here's a muffin.
Now look in Chloe's bag at the band shirt specifically, and now Max will think this.
This design must be Chloe's handiwork. Her doodles have gotten a lot more polished ever since.
Now look at the map again, and this time because Chloe died, Max doesn't have that on-the-road experience with Chloe, so she's going to think this.
She certainly didn't stop by because she was in the neighborhood.
And then the sketchbook, and again, she's going to be surprised that she's a band manager.
Chloe's a band manager? In a weekend full of surprises? I guess that's the least surprising.
Okay, and as you finally get control of Chloe, she will have written something different in her journal on page 5. Instead of saying years of waiting, she says, after hundreds of miles, thousands of questions, and countless times playing every scenario out in my head, it happened. I met up with Max. And then continuing to page 6, but man, the way she looked at me. Yeah, because she thought you died. In the truck after we got back before I crashed out, it was like she was staring at a ghost. It was probably just the shock, but maybe it has something to do with those horrible visions. And then you can go over to the photo wall, and this time again, it's not a photo of Chloe and Max, and this time she thinks this.
At least I still get a spot on the life mosaic.
Okay, finally you're talking, and you have some choices in the conversation, right? This time you don't have the why are you here option, you have how are you here?
Chloe, how are you here right now?
I drove? Not really the question I was expecting.
And then continuing, you'll talk about Safi, former friend will be there, but you'll also have what is happening.
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to understand what is happening right now.
Me too, Max. Glad we're on the same page here.
Sophie and I were friends once.
And then once again, after you're talking about Safi, you'll kind of move to locations into the living room.
What else do you see in your visions besides her?
And instead of that whole conversation about what Chloe remembers, a storm destroying Arcadia Bay, etc., now it goes like this.
Me? Dying on the Blackwell bathroom floor. I know it's not real, but it feels so And when I met your friend last night, she looked at me like she'd seen a ghost. I know you saved me. But I'm starting to wonder if maybe you didn't. Did I die?
I saved you. Then, when the storm came, you asked me to go back and undo it. You saved Arcadia Bay. When you died, a decade ago.
And then you could choose for Chloe to say either what's happening,
I should be dead. Why am I not dead? Am I a ghost?
Of course not.
Well, I'm not a fucking living person, that much is clear.
or did you do this?
Max, did you do this? Did you beat the devil in a fiddle contest?
This isn't funny.
It's my death. I decide what's funny or not.
And then the conversation will continue if she died, with her realizing that all these memories that she had, Max doesn't have.
Hold on. I remember everything that happened after that. We spent years on the road together. Didn't we?
I spent years on the road, but I was alone. I know this is weird, but what if your memories are what would have happened if you lived? Or what did happen, just to some other version of us? Talk to me. How are you feeling?
And then you'll have the option between fucked up beyond measure.
I feel like my brain is discovering whole new ways to be insane. I might not be good company right now.
I thought I'd never see you again. Be as crazy as you want. I'm not going anywhere.
Or scared.
Max, this is bad. Reality isn't supposed to work like this. I'm a mistake. I'm...
You're alive. I don't care how or why. This is beyond anything I ever dreamed of.
And then this part will end with,
But what the hell happened? How am I here right now?
and then it continues. There's some stuff that happens, whether she survived or died, but it will pick up where Chloe is settled into the reality of what's happening a little bit and, wants to talk about what happened on the road, or Max wants to at least.
This is so strange. I have this brain full of memories of our time on the road together, but it's not even us.
That's incredible. What was it like?
Then Chloe can say ups, then downs. This is their whole relationship that we saw in the survived version of what it went down that Max doesn't remember.
We had a lot of good years together. Then, my memory's fuzzy, but you were depressed, guilty about Arcadia Bay.
Can't imagine. Having one death on my conscience was bad enough.
But Chloe can also say, who cares?
Who fucking cares? It never happened. I have to cross out the last decade of journal entries and write dead the whole time.
I know this is a lot to process. But holy shit, Chloe. You're alive.
And then Chloe realizes that that week in high school that they spent together wasn't real, quote.
So wait. Even the week we spent together in high school didn't happen. I was already dead.
I guess not.
Oh, this is great. My best friend abandons me, and I have a decade-long hallucination of a friend who didn't.
Max did technically experience that. And you can pick that week was real.
That week, at the junkyard, on the train tracks, it was the best and worst week of my life. I'm so glad you remember it too.
Yeah. But who the hell did it happen to? Not me.
Or I'm sorry.
I'm sorry I didn't call after I moved. But if you remember that week, you know I've apologized for this before.
To who? Some other Chloe in the multiverse of Chloes? She might have forgiven you already, but I wasn't there.
And then continuing on, Chloe is just not okay with this. I would be concerned if she was.
I feel so weird. There's so much I don't know, and half of what I do know isn't real.
Well, maybe I can catch you up. I can tell you how reality worked for me, at least.
But eventually comes around and you can say, how was the funeral?
What was the funeral like?
Beautiful. Filled with people who loved you. You would have hated it.
This is some Tom Sawyer shit. But without the sick drum solo.
Or how was my mom?
How did my mom take it?
About how you'd expect. David was there for her, but he was a mess too.
That guy contains multitudes. Remember when we visited him at that hippie camp and... God damn it, never mind.
And then this part ends like this.
I'm sorry, Chloe. What can I do?
Max, I don't need you to do anything. I'm not some problem for you to solve.
Okay, so after you have that scene with Noelle, she kind of warns you or whatever's happening there, depending on other choices, you come back to the couch. And Chloe wants to know what Max has been up to since.
So, catch me up on you. What did Max Caulfield do after she saved a town?
Ran away from it as fast as I could. Your mom gave me your truck. I went to all the places you and Rachel had wanted to go.
And Max can say, I was haunted.
I went through towns like a ghost. Just looking for empty buildings so I could haunt them with my camera.
Or I was empty.
I drove until the hole in my chest started to scab over. And I took photos of empty buildings so other people could see what the hole looked like.
And then wraps up with this.
At some point, I accidentally became a semi-famous photographer. Last year, I came here as a visiting artist, and now I'm a teacher.
Okay, finally done with this scene reunion. Now we're moving into Admin Sleuth again.
Hard to think about anything besides Chloe at the moment.
As you walk into the admin building for Max's cutscene monologue, she'll say this if Chloe died.
But if I want her to remain alive, I need to start finding answers now.
And once you have control of Max again, you'll see there's more text messages from Chloe. If you chose that Chloe died, it'll say this. Though, to be fair, I'm not sure the staircase has an end to it, Jesus fucking Christ. If I wasn't dead already, the walk would do it. Max says, don't joke about that. Okay, in the Cat and Max scene, if you go into this kind of optional area and get that phone call with Chloe, if Chloe died this time, this part will go like this.
You never responded to my text, for starters.
I didn't know it was you. I didn't have your number in this reality. I barely even believed it was you when you showed up in person.
Excuses, excuses.
All right, Overlight scene. Finally, Chloe and Moses are meeting. And as that scene starts, now because she died, this part will go like this.
So I came to Max for help. And she told me, I guess you know, that I died. That my memories of what happened to us after high school didn't happen. At least, not to her. Basically, I shouldn't be here. By the way, you're doing pretty well with this whole talking to a dead girl thing.
Well, if you're friends with Max long enough, you get used to it. But I have many, many, many questions.
Then, as they're talking a little bit more again, Moses realized there's a paradox going on here. He wants to investigate, of course.
A storm threatened your town, and Max was forced to make a choice.
If she died, it'll go like this.
She let you die, averted the storm, and saved Arcadia Bay.
But I'm here.
Then, of course, you get triggered to go into the paradoxical situation, and you're at that overlook with Safi. This time, because Chloe died, that first text is going to be from dead Chloe. And then future or alive Chloe, of course. Then again, at the top of the overlook, look at that bathroom floor section.
Does that place hold any special meaning?
Because Chloe died, she's going to say this.
Sure. It's where I died.
Okay, you're back from the paradoxical event from the overlook, and you start talking to Moses. You have different conversation options that you can choose from. You will not have the option of, but Max saved me if you died. It's just the other ones. There's not one that replaces it. And then in this conversation, Moses is concerned about Chloe going back there so often.
And that place is dangerous.
He's going to say this now instead.
If you spend more time there, you could undo the merge. You could revert back to your own death.
All right, Times Turtle talking to Safi. She is reminding you, trying to bring up the truth about what happened during that nightmare scene in Double Exposure.
And then what? Think.
And you're back at the hotel, quote, remembering.
It was all these motel rooms.
And because Chloe died, Max will say this.
Like the ones I stayed in after Chloe died.
Continuing again, there's a bunch of different shots that are different if Chloe survived or died. If Chloe died, you're going to start on the shot with Safi. It's going to tilt up, and you're going to see Chloe's dead body.
Chloe. She was there too. Like she'd been trapped in the storm this whole time, waiting for me.
And then as you see Max's hand reaching out, again, you're going to see that shot of Chloe on the ground. Back again with Safi as you're having the conversation. She gets really frustrated as you're going. She wants you to believe her and just side with her, right?
How many times do you need the universe to tell you it's not interested?
Because Chloe died, she's going to say this.
Chloe and I may be here now, but a part of us, maybe the part that really matters, remains trapped in that nightmare.
All right, still in the same scene again, but you're with Chloe and you have access to her journal. Again, right at the top of page 8, there's going to be a slight difference. It now says, and yeah, even with Max's time fuckery and my supposed death. In the canoe with Chloe in Champlain problems.
I thought my life was starting to make sense, but I was wrong.
If Chloe died, you'll hear this.
All those years I spent grieving you. I was grieving myself, too. I never felt more alive than that week we spent together. I convinced myself I could never be that person again. Not without you. And now you're here.
Okay, and again, once you actually did the kiss or holding of hands, you're actually physically holding hands while talking.
I can't believe I never took a boat out here until now.
Just add it to the list of conveyances I've dragged your ass into over the years.
But here, if Chloe died, she's going to add this.
I mean, in my reality, anyway.
I want to hear so much about your reality that it becomes mine.
Then the conversation will continue.
Let's hear the list.
Well, there was my truck, of course. That shopping cart in San Francisco. Then there was that Vespa we had in Salt Lake City.
And then Max doesn't remember this experience, so she has a question.
Was I in the front or back?
Are you kidding? You were in the back, holding on to me so tight, I thought I would suffocate.
The conversation will continue.
We had that tandem bicycle in Chicago. That was a disaster. And Izzy's friend's weed dealer's tuk-tuk we joyrode in Nashville.
But again, Max doesn't remember this, so she's like, what?
You're just making stuff up now.
I am not.
Okay, moving forward to the Mabon scene. Now, before we get to the good stuff, we have a journal entry to look at if you remember. So page 13, right in the middle, if Chloe died, it will be this instead. I did this to Chloe. I brought her back to life because I couldn't let her go. It must be the cause of her weird visions and God knows what else. And oh, you're in the basement and Max is just pouring her heart out.
You drive your truck back into my life? We have a few incredible days together.
If Chloe died, Max will say this.
And then you're gone. And I have to learn how to live without you. And I don't know if I could do it a second time.
And then later, it doesn't matter if you romanced or were friends with Chloe, different from the Survive version. If Chloe died, she'll always say this.
I'm sorry.
No one should ever have to make the kind of choice you made back then. We were so young, and you had to be so brave for so long.
Okay, next scene, Majestic Tapestry. You have a journal entry, remember, you can look at. At the bottom of page 17, Max will have written, I saw her die, again, in a fire I can't figure out how to stop. I brought her back to life, but for how long? Just slightly different. And we're in the next scene, all available evidence. You can optionally talk to Moses at some point. This time, if you died and picked I have faith, it'll go like this.
I know my powers are imperfect, but I don't think they would bring Chloe back to life just to have her die again.
And if you picked me too and Chloe died, it'll go like this.
I am too. It all seems so normal, her being here. But then I remember she's supposed to be dead.
And again, if you choose to hold back and not tell Chloe she died in the fire, whichever follow-up option you pick, Chloe will eventually say,
Technically, I shouldn't even be here.
okay, we're in the worth the wait scene. And remember, there's 4 different options of what can happen here. So if Chloe died and you told her about her death, it'll go like this.
I know that in the last year, reality got pretty twisted. I don't know how I'm alive. I don't know what's going to happen next. And I don't care. In the vast multiverse of Chloe's, I'm just really glad to be the one who's here with you right now.
Now, if Chloe died and you held back, you did not tell her, it'll go like this.
That week we spent together in high school, I still don't know who it happened to. I don't know which Chloe I am or which Max you are. And I don't care. Whatever comes next, I'm just really glad I'm the Chloe that gets to be here with you right now.
In the Max's decision scene, when you're talking to Safi,
Let's leave. We can find your town.
this time, Arcadia Bay still exists, so she doesn't need to say anything else about it magically being recreated, right? It goes right into the next piece. In the Keeping Watch scene, if you look at Maya's book over here, this time because Chloe died, she's gonna think this.
I can't imagine what my death did to my mom. Is it weird that I feel guilty about something I don't even understand?
Now, this time at the lighthouse scene, when you get that text from Safi, again, there's differences between dead Chloe and alive Chloe showing up in the text, but the main difference in the text is still from dead Safi. She still starts out saying, I would have thought that was clear. I'm dead. I've been dead this whole time. But the follow-up text is different because Chloe is also dead. You get that right. You may be out in the world, going through the motions, jerking around to puppet strings Max pulls, but deep down, you know what's true. Still in that lighthouse scene when you're convincing Safi to stick around, you're going to get these options here at some point. If you pick I Know the Feeling, because Chloe died, it's going to go like this.
You think I don't get it? I was dead for a decade. Now I'm jammed back into a life that isn't mine. Sometimes it feels like I'll never be okay again.
And then again, if you get to this point where you have these options, if Chloe died and you picked fine, let's be bastards, it will go like this.
Who cares what reality wants? What has reality ever done for us? My town, my mom, is back. Is that a bad thing? Is she a mistake? No. Screw that. She's alive, and reality can go fuck itself.
And then as Chloe's falling off the building, looking at Max trying to save her, her memory will be different this time.
Max Caulfield, don't you forget about me.
Okay, moving on from that emotional thing, we're at the memorial scene. You get that text from Max's parents. This time when Max says that there's a lot that's happened over the past 3 days. She'll now say, I don't even know how to talk about most of it. And then of course you have that last journal entry from Max. This time, if Chloe originally died, Max will have written, a life with Chloe? The one I thought I never could have? Last time I was on the road, the guilt from her death nearly tore me apart. But we have a chance now. If I can learn to live without looking back. And we're finally back in Partners in Time. If you burn the photo and Chloe died, it'll be a little different.
We could head back east and check on your friends. Or we can go west. We've never been back home together. It might be time.
The very bizarre consequence that makes no sense to me. If you picked that Chloe died, you will always get Moses feels like a friend to Chloe and relates to her. Why? It doesn't have anything to do with looking at his stuff or seeing that they have things in common in the lab room, Chloe learning about Maya, or doing anything that has to do with talking to him or learning about him. It is died and survived. I am baffled.
We can't stay locked in the past.
But anyway, we're going to take that in and just go with it and then take a nap because this was a lot. You, my friend, are committed. Let me know what you think about these consequences, if you feel like they handled it well, and how you feel about it being basically the entire game's consequences in one choice. I mean, I think it kind of makes sense. It's a pretty big deal if she died or survived, but it is significant. So let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time. Bye.